everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Chris back with the Aftermath. This is the show we do with the dust has settled from the post-match instant reaction to Newcastle United's latest game, which happened to be a whimpering crap 2-1 defeat at Selhurst Park to a pretty limp Crystal Palace, who rested their best players after European glory midweek. As you can see, the day is coming to dusk. The light is fading. I've managed to find somewhere with a little bit of shade as the leaves are flickering off my side of my face here. I'm going to make this one relatively quick. I'm just going to try and cover this as best as I can, really, in terms of what's going wrong with Newcastle. We're going to get stuck right into it and what's going on tonight, but I'm going to talk about something I've been talking about for months, really. Now, some people have been stronger than I have about it, but what we're seeing right now, okay, is the opposite of what we normally see with football clubs, right? What we see with football clubs is we see people who sack managers too soon. They're very quick to pull a trigger, and it comes back and bites them a little bit. Spurs may very well be going through this right now as I record this. They're sitting in the bottom three. They've lost to Sunderland away from home. They look like they're doomed to relegation. Nottingham Forest are on their fourth manager. Potentially this guy may pull them out of the mix, so that shows you the other side of it as well. But pulling the trigger way too quickly on other managers, right? But what we're seeing with Newcastle United is we're seeing the opposite of that. We're seeing a club that is stuck by their manager too long and allowed things to grow stale. For the stale, it's not just to creep into the club, but to fester it, to infect it in every possible angle. And that's what's happening with Newcastle United right now. It isn't just the manager, the players. I'm going to tell you about in a second what I think about some certain players. But what's happening to this football club right now is they have given up too many points. They've not turned up enough in big games this season, and they've found themselves way out of the European shootout in terms of Champions League football, which is what these players think they're all good enough to play in season after season, even though they're the very players who haven't turned up to do it. But what we're also seeing from the manager is he picks the same players regardless of form. He picks players that are aged out and can't give them the level of intensity that they've given them for the past 4 years because they're too fucking old to do it. And he fails to realise that, and he's too stubborn to change that. He plays players out of positions. He got 130 million quid's worth of centre forward in the summer. One of them has been knackered most of the season, but been dog shit. And the other one scored 8 goals or something in his first 9 games, and he's given up on him straight away because he cannot use him the same way he wants to use players, which is pace, lead from the front, all that kind of stuff, press in the front. You've got to be quick, you've got to be big, you've got to be strong. You can't be technical to play in an Eddie Howe team, and that's why we're so shit at the moment, because we're a team full of runners and athletes, but we have no technical ability. We can't break teams down. We can't pull out moments of quality when it's needed. We are crap as a football team, and we're sitting exactly where we deserve to be sitting in the league, which is 14th, under this lacklustre manager who's lost the magic that he once had. And the club has allowed this to fester. The club has allowed this to become this way. And the reason they've allowed it to become this way is because they gave Eddie Howe too much power, too much control. He's seen off 2 sporting directors in his tenure at Newcastle. Yes, he's won the cup. Brilliant. Yes, he kept us up. Brilliant. Yes, he's qualified for Champions League twice. Brilliant. But let's not fuck around here, right? Let's put cards on the table and call it like it is. Newcastle United have been dross since after the Carabao Cup win. We were lucky to scrape into the Champions League. I was at that Everton game. We were dog shit. If it wasn't for Aston Villa having a fucking nightmare and a refereeing decision that was horrendous, we probably wouldn't have got Champions League football. We would have lost probably 2 or 3 players anyway in the summer, more than Alexander Isak. But Newcastle United have not been the same side that they once were under Eddie Howe, that high intense, that high pressing side, mainly because the players that he used in that system have aged out and he hasn't replaced them with younger, hungrier players. He will not use the youth academy that he has at his disposal to give players a chance, because he'd rather play a 35-year-old Kieran Trippier than a 18-year-old Leo Shahar. He'd rather play a 31-year-old Joe Linton than a Lewis Miley earlier on in the season. Lewis Miley forced himself into the team because of his quality. He'd rather play a misfiring Anthony Langer or a 31-year-old Jacob Murphy who couldn't kick his own arse against Palace than give someone like Song Soo a chance. He'd rather play Wissa, who's shit, or have Wissa on the bench, who's going to offer absolutely nothing, than give Sean Neve a chance off the bench. This is the problem. Unai Emery gives youth a chance. Pep Guardiola's given youth a chance at Manchester City. Even Liverpool have given youth a chance. Look at young Rio scoring a goal from the other day. Newcastle are not giving youth a chance. They'll be moaning about PSR. and the financial restraints that they have. They've blew 200 million quid in the summer on Prem-proven players that the manager selected because he was in charge of transfers. So it's all come crumbling down, this whole house of cards. And you've got the media absolving Eddie Howe of all fault and all blame. A lot of the fan base who drank the Kool-Aid still don't want to blame the manager. But you cannot blame your eyes and what you're seeing. We're not good enough. We don't risk enough in attack to win games. We're not disciplined enough in defence to hold on to victories or draws. We're nothing. We're in the middle. We're in a malaise. We're in a fucking purgatory of football. We're neither an attacking team or a defensive team. We're not a possession team. We're not an intense team anymore. We've got no identity. Intense used to be our identity, and now nothingness is our identity. That's us as a football team, and there's loads of reasons for it, but the biggest reason for it is we've allowed the squad to wither on the vine on the strength of one man who's been in charge of recruitment and wanted to be in charge of recruitment, and that is Eddie Howe. He's kept players too long. If you go back and see what happened in the last few weeks and months of his Bournemouth time, where the man was Kevin Keegan to Bournemouth fans. He was Mr. Bournemouth. They still fucking love him now. But you go talk to a Bournemouth fan, there might be one of the comments right now that'll tell you the same thing happened at Bournemouth. They went on too long with Eddie Howe because they couldn't sack him because of what he meant for the football club, and they just got worse and worse and worse and went down and down and down, and then they were relegated. Newcastle aren't going to get relegated, I don't believe that. Touch wood, or touch my steering wheel here. But we are nowhere near the team that we were 2-3 seasons ago in this manager. We have regressed massively. The whole squad needs a refresh, but the club needs a refresh. We need a refresh in management. We need a different level of tactics deployed from the side, or any fucking tactics for that matter. Not predictable substitutions at the same time every game. Not plan A and no other plan. Not, playing players out of position. Not trusting players who are constantly letting you down. And that's what I'm going to get onto right now. Never mind the manager. Now, I was listening to True Faith earlier on. I try to consume the content before I do the aftermath. I've got a bit of a tight window, so I've not been able to consume a lot. But I listened to the guys at True Faith. Always a good listen. Got a lot of time for the guys. Alex and Audie and even Sai, Mr. Eddie Howe. It wasn't waving the flag or rah-rah on the pom-poms like some of his buddies in the media were. This is the thing. Your eyes don't lie to you. Newcastle United are not good enough. Newcastle United are 14th in the table for a reason. The manager has failed spectacularly on the pitch, off the pitch with his signings, his in-game tactics, his inability to hold on to a lead, his inability to hold on to draws, his inability to roar back in from defeat to try and change a game and win it. We saw it. De Zerbi did it to us against Marseille. Bayer Leverkusen did it to us. Glasner's done it to us today as I'm recording this. And these aren't managers who are world-class managers winning Champions Leagues. These are managers in and around you in the bottom half of the Premier League, and they're out-coaching this manager. So there's no more excuses for him. But anyway, I'm parking him for a minute. I don't think he'll go before the end of the season, but I generally think if we get beat off Bournemouth, which I think we will, this is going to reach new levels of toxicity. This man doesn't actually deserve for what he's done for the football club. He doesn't deserve to be in an environment where people are starting to throw bile and abuse at him like that. The man doesn't deserve that because he's been brilliant for the football club. But the club have done him a disservice by hanging on to him too long. And that's what I'm going to say about Eddie Howe. We'll get into that more and what's going on because I feel really strongly about that. But let's get into some of these players. Some of these spineless, shithouse, cowardly players who he's put his faith in, who have let him down. And you know the ones I'm going to talk about. They're the players in this team who don't want to be here anymore. We know they don't want to be here because all of the stories have come out in the media about them wanting to leave. Fucking hell, Sandro Tonali's trying to sell him to everybody. That's what he's trying to do. Sandro Tonali's agent is trying to sell him to everybody. Tino Livramento clearly doesn't want to be here now. Anthony Gordon's head's on the swivel once again because Salah's leaving Liverpool and he fancies a little shot at the Liverpool gig. Or Bayern Munich are now sniffing around him. These three players have played like they don't want to be here. Now, Anthony Gordon, previous to this, put a bit of effort in, put a bit of graft in, but he was dreadful against Crystal Palace. He looked like he was in a right strop, couldn't be arsed, puffing his cheeks out, lethargic, couldn't be bothered. I know he was away with England, but he barely fucking played. And he showed up and did that against Crystal Palace. Disgrace. The only two players who had anything to be proud of in terms of even putting some effort in was Lewis Hall and Lewis Miley. One's 19 and just come back from a 2-month injury spell, and the other one's 21 years old. There's Italian internationals on that pitch in Sandro Tonali, England internationals and Anthony Gordon, Joe Linton, Brazilian international. Horrendous. aged out, offers nothing, loses the ball too much. You know, is more of a problem now than a solution. But a manager wants his physicality, and he'll keep him in the team regardless. Even if we're in a possession-based game where Joe Linton offers nothing, you know, he still plays him in the games because he needs that Joe Linton physicality. What's the point in being physical when people are passing around you and you're fly kicking a centre forward and getting a stupid yellow card and missing 2 games through suspension? Pointless. But these players don't deserve to wear that shirt. Don't deserve, if they can't be asked to be at Newcastle and they're already thinking of their fucking plans next season at Man City for Livramento or Liverpool for Gordon or Arsenal for fucking Sandro Tonali, don't play any one of them for the last 6 games anyhow. If you want to try to save your job, you want to try to salvage this season, play players who give a shit and play players who are going to turn up and do something for you. These 3 couldn't care less. They're away. They're gone already. They checked out. Fuck the 3 of them. Don't play either one of them. Elevate 3 players to the first team. Leo Shahar at right back. Give the kid a chance. Why not? What could he do worse than Tino Livramento, who this is the 2nd game in a row Tino Livramento has completely gone missing. MIA. He sent in the SAS with a helicopter to find Tino Livramento. That's how missing in action he was on that first goal for Mateta. What was he trying to head? I don't know what he was doing. Unbelievable. He was miles away from the ball. Passing shit. Can't cross the ball. Could be asked to chase a man back. Disgraceful team Livramento today. Disgraceful. Anthony Gordon, Huffy and Puffy, can't be bothered. Thinks he's better than that. I'm going to the World Cup. We've nearly got 10 players going to the World Cup and we are 14th in the Premier League. What in the fucking hell is that about? Disgraceful. It shows you these players aren't putting in for this manager, which again is a problem because when a manager loses the players, normally as a club you have to act and do something. Manchester United, look at them. Those players weren't playing for Ruben Amorim. They get Michael Carrick as an interim manager and now they're sitting 3rd in the Premier League, shoe-ins for Champions League football. That's what happens when you make a change, when you should make a change. And Newcastle didn't make it. But Sandro Tonali, even though he doesn't look shit, that's because he's a phenomenal footballer. So even when he's just given 30%, he looks better than most people's 80%. But he is coasting through games, guys. Coasting through games. He couldn't give a shit. He really couldn't. And the fact that he couldn't play in that Derby game, I don't give a fuck what anybody says, right? You don't not play in the Derby game and then go and play your arse off for your country for 2 lots of 90 plus minutes. Score goals, create goals, score penalties and look fresh as fuck and hungry for a victory and trying to grab a game by the scruff of the neck. You don't go from being that injured that you miss a game to that in the space of 3 days. I'm sorry. Fuck right off. Sandro Tonali's checked out of playing for Newcastle. Now Lewis Miley's back and Bruno's not far away. The minute Bruno is fit, it's Bruno, Jacob Ramsey and Lewis Miley in midfield for me. It has to be because Joe Linton offers nothing. He's suspended for 2 games now anyway because he's an idiot. Sandro Tonali's checked out of the building. And fucking hell, I'm not playing Voldemort in midfield. The lad come on and he was crap up front because his confidence is ruined. He knows this manager doesn't rate him. If this manager stays in the summer, Voldemort goes. But I don't think this manager's staying in the summer because I don't think we're getting European football. And I've said this for months. I've been attacked for it. I've been accused of being shouty and all this other crap that people have thrown at us. But I saw this months ago. I don't take any pride in it, but I saw it months ago. I don't trust this manager to get it right. I don't trust these players to put it in for him anymore. The signs have been there since last season. Everybody, come on, go back and watch it. You've seen this. They don't put in enough effort. They're not dedicated enough defensively or disciplined enough defensively to stay in games. They don't attack with enough vigour to win games and take games by the scruff of the neck. They're offering nothing as a team for this manager anymore. And we all see it, but now it's coming to roost. It's coming to the fore that we all see how bad this has been from top to bottom, from the manager and the coaching staff to now the players being lethargic and not caring because they know they're not here next season. Those 3 players I mentioned in particular know they're not here. The ones who want to be here, their effort shows. Bruno Guimaraes wants to be here, regardless of all them links. He's the captain. He bleeds black and white. When he's back, he'll put in so much more effort than these half-arsed charlatans. It'll be immeasurable. Lewis Miley knows he wants to be here. Hopefully a future captain of Newcastle one day. Lewis Hall wants to be here. His family and Newcastle fans. He puts it in every game. Even Aaron Ramsdale, for fuck's sake, who's probably not going to be here after the summer. He's still putting in more effort than some of them players out there, making some great saves in the Palace game. But the whole team It's withered on the vine. It's either no longer good enough, it's aged out and lacks any of the intensity that made it appealing before. There's no passion, there's no fight, there's no quality in that side, especially without Bruno. And it's so depressing to watch Newcastle United. And it's actually really depressing that Eddie Howe, who's had a brilliant tenure at Newcastle, is coming to an end like this. It looks like it's coming to a crescendo, to an end, where people are going to just think about how bad it was towards the end and not think about the good times. And I know people have accused me of that as well, but Eddie Howe has given me some great times as a Newcastle manager, certainly win the Carabao Cup. Absolutely, I was at that parade. I wasn't lucky enough to be at the game, unfortunately, but I was lucky to be at the parade. And it was, if I could bottle that feeling and sell it, I'd be an absolute billionaire. It was incredible, the positivity around the city at that particular time. And people go, oh, that was only a year ago. But a year's a long time in football. A long time in football. And I've said before, fans don't get a manager sacked. Content creators sure as shit don't get a manager sacked. Players do. And these players are going to get this manager sacked at the end of the season, or he's going to walk himself, because I don't see a way back for him. I don't see anything he can do with that squad to refresh and go again. And there's too much of a rebuild required to get anything out of that football team. It really is. Newcastle don't have the money to do it. They don't have the finance to do it. You could sell Tonali and Gordon and Livramento in Volta if you want, right, for 200 million. That's not going to build you enough players in that squad to go again. So sadly, in football in terms, the easiest person to replace is the manager. And you quite often get better tunes out of players that are there with a new manager and a fresh voice and fresh tactics than you do from the guy who's been there for 4 or 5 years. But we're going to get right into that, on what's going on. I just had to do the aftermath and get off my chest. I'm annoyed at the players, if I'm honest with you. I made my mind up that Eddie Howe needs to go a long time ago, but I knew they were going to get till the end of the season. I thought the players would care more and put more in for him than that. He's had a whole week to train them. He's had a whole week to prepare them. And that's the performance that they put in from. They're not playing for this manager. And even if you're Eddie in, sure, you agree with that. But let me know in the comments below what you think. Remember, smash a like, subscribe, help the channel grow. We're so close to 13,000 subscribers. You can help get us there. Mark and I are back with what's going on tonight. We'll get right into more of this in further detail without sun flickering on my face, which is a very nice view, to be fair. Just watching some little cat walk across here. I don't want to knock it over in the car. My God, I'd be mortified. But thanks for watching, guys. Keep it evermore. Newcastle are back, ruining our weekends. Have a belter. See you later.
Heroes celebrate. They have done it.